Financial planning is not math, at least not alone. This is what I learned from teaching a bunch of 13-year-olds about financial concepts. I recently did a financial literacy talk for a junior high class, and in this presentation, I polled my peers about what the most powerful lesson is that I can teach. Compounding won. You can see in this poll that I rigged it though, right? I didn't talk about compounding in a sense that it just tackles math. But it is the eighth wonder of the world. Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. So it's obligatory for me to teach that as a lesson. I asked this simple question to these students. What would you choose? $10,000 today? Or a penny that doubles every day for 30 days, and then you can get the penny's value at that time? I'm sure you've seen that question before. Most of them chose option B, mainly because they were suspicious of me and automatically assumed that it was a trap. But this is a grade 8 class, so I fully expected them to have come across this question in math class before, and I was right. There was one brilliant mind that remembered the total number after 30 days, $5.3 million. However, he was shocked when this slide came up. He had the right answer. He had the right number, but the slide says that's the wrong lesson. See, he had an amazing memory, excellent factual recollection, but my point is that money is not just about facts and figures. We have to stop treating financial literacy like all it takes to solve is being able to add numbers together and rounding up to the second decimal place. That's not how real life works. If it was math class and we were talking exponents, great. Understanding that is perfect. So I spent a lot of my time for that talk really discovering and talking about mindset around money and how it shapes our world. I'll save that for another day because my time ran short. It ran short before I really had the opportunity to expand on this point about being math correct, but money and life wrong. So I'm creating this video as a follow-up resource to send them and explain this publicly for the whole YouTubeverse to see. I promise I will tie everything back so that it's relevant to you, somebody that's planning their retirement. I'll stick to that compounding example. If I was teaching a math class and I was talking about exponential growth, then option B was absolutely right. The bigger number is better. More, right? Yay! But I'm not your math professor. In fact, I was brought in, as I said, for a health class. So kudos, Lisa. Everybody that's watching this right now, like this video for Lisa. She's the lovely health teacher that said, I want to impart some actual practical lessons to these kids. So leave us a like, do it for her. And in that presentation, I also share my favorite formula, which is this. Input plus interpretation equals output. If you don't believe me, read this sentence on the screen right now. Woman without her man is nothing. Was that sentence offensive? Of course, that's a matter of interpretation. I'm ESL, so sometimes the things I say don't come out like I intended to. Therefore, I have to be particularly careful about grammar and punctuation. That sentence totally depends on your interpretation and tone and where you put the comma in your head. This is likely how you read it, which is why you found it offensive. Woman without her man is nothing. If you believe that, go back a few decades and stay there because that's just not true. But this is how I read that sentence. Woman without her man is nothing. I even added an exclamation point at the end, so it reads like this. Woman without her man is nothing. See, I know that you never watch this, but I love you, babe. Shout out to all the mums too, honestly. Mother's Day is coming up. Much love to all the mums. So to the sons and husbands that are watching this is your reminder. Buy flowers, make brunch happen, okay? I'm giving you a heads up. So enough with that tangent though. So that you can see the point, it really is dependent on interpretation. And it's the same thing with money. Of course, money doesn't double every day, but allow me to tie those 2 points together into 5 financial planning lessons. Let's look at this together. First lesson is time horizon. For you to measure the outcomes properly, you need to understand how long you have to wait when you really need the money. In this situation, it was 21 days, 21 periods before option B broke above the value of option A. Math says option B all the way, baby, all the way. But what if you only have 10 days or 10 periods before you really need the money? And you really need $10,000 at that point. If you chose option B and you had no other choice but to cash out and capitulate, and you can't carry on, congratulations. You would have $5.12. Hooray! Let's up the stakes then. What if someone you really care about was sick and they needed a special medication, which was only available from one provider? And it's $10,000 for a single dose that'll cure them for good. Maybe it'll be your spouse or your child. Can you wait until the 21st doubling period? I know that took a morbid turn, but it all depends on context, right? Let's tie back this situation to your plan and your retirement. Even if you're 64 right now and you intend to retire at 65, your time horizon is not 1 year. Of course, some of the dollars that you have, you'll need to deploy soon. But some are not needed for 25 years if you live until you're 90. The problem that most people run into, advisors included, is they focus on volatility as their measure of risk. As you get closer to retirement, they dial down the risk for the entire portfolio. They dial down the volatility. And in turn, if you do this as a blanket decision, you'll guarantee that your investments will not grow sufficiently to beat inflation. Or if you focus only on the growth, that's also bad. And you can get caught up in the big dollars that in a few years you'll have. You could forget that if the values of your investments drop, you won't have enough for the life experiences that you wanted to accomplish in the next 1 to 5 years, the first most crucial 5 years of retirement. Now, both extremes absolutely should be avoided. The thing is, you can't avoid these without tying your investment decisions to your cash flow and segmenting your accounts and decision making. So you need to understand that time horizon is not singular. It's all dependent on matching when your income is needed. Second lesson, are you willing to be wrong for a long time? Haha. See, in this case, you could look like a clown for 20 days or 20 periods in a row. Arguably, that's a long time. Since option A was heaven and earth better compared to option B for 20 days. I say this because no asset class or investment methodology wins every single year. Depending on when you look and how long you stretch your window of analysis, passive investing can look good or could look like a total dog. I'm not advocating any specific investment methodology here, but just look at the S&P for 2022. January 1st to December 31st, it was a net loss. You know the winningest asset class that year? Cash, currency. Expand this comparison over a 3-year period. The answer changes. Over 5 years, it's the same thing. So if you have a strategy that you're adhering to, you might not be right all the time. Third lesson, you need to have a framework for comparison. I use this example for a reason, since there's a predefined metric, right? What's the value of option B over time? Those kids may have had the right answer based on their memory or based on their gut instincts. The consequence of getting the wrong answer for them was non-existent, but for you, it's a different story. Many of you will try to make CPP or OAS decisions based on guesswork or YouTube videos like this. I mean, I do my best to be helpful, but you're still, for the most part, guessing. You could try to decide what survivor benefit to choose from your defined benefit pension. deciding to commute or annuitize the pension, deciding to sell your home or downsize or not, deciding which account to draw from first, whether it's your RSP, your TFSA, or another investment source. Retirement planning decisions have a long and drawn out feedback loop. Without a retirement income plan, you won't know whether your decisions are costing you or benefiting you for years, maybe decades to come. So you need to come up with a decision-making framework. Lesson number 4. Those kids answered that question without asking me for context, without asking what they need to do to be eligible for either choice. What if the reward was for something that they would absolutely never do, like something criminal? Or worse, having to admit in public that they like Taylor Swift. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. Go Tay-Tay. So, for you, as a pre-retiree, do you know the non-negotiables of your retirement life? I'll give you an analysis that I'm currently working on right now. It's a true story about a client not named Joe. He wants to see if he can afford a second home in Canmore. A false analysis could be something like, is a condo better than a townhouse or a detached property? Given the current interest environment, what's better, a variable rate or a fixed rate? What's the best value for my money? New builds or buying one on the secondary market? And I can totally get sucked into a rabbit hole and do a lot of these comparisons. But here's a question that I asked before I even get to that. Hey Joe, let's say I can make this work for you and you're able to pick up the second home this year. But in doing so, it results in you delaying your retirement for another 3 years. Is the vacation home worth it then? For him, he said absolutely not. So to him, his freedom date is non-negotiable. BTW, if you're a financial advisor, feel free to steal that question. We as an industry all need to learn to tie back our advice to our clients' lives. There are returns beyond what shows up in the quarterly statement. And if we can't provide true investment alpha consistently, we need to be able to provide life alpha. If you're doing something like this already, I'm proud of you. Add that question to your, repository, or just list of questions that you'll ask your clients to help them. Lesson number 5, think divergently or creatively. See, if there was a universe where my money would double every day starting from a penny, a 100% return daily, if that universe existed, what stops me from taking the $10,000 and then investing that so it doubles every day? Or if 100% is possible, then 30% daily is certainly possible, right? In that magical universe. What if I got 30% and I spent $5,000 and invested the rest? I'm breaking the paradigms, but if I did that, I'd have $10 million after 30 days. I got to enjoy today and have more in 30 days. Pretty sweet, right? Of course, that's assuming that I'm okay professing my admiration to Taylor Swift in front of my peers. I understand that that example is absurd, right? So let's go back to Joe. The vacation home is being looked at purely as a yes or no decision, which that's not how life works. What if buying that is not feasible? Can renting or having a long-term rental agreement with somebody that he personally knows in Canmore, will that work? Or what if he can't afford it individually, but what if other family members or trusted friends want to own a piece of private property in Canmore? That's another solution, potentially, right? See, if for Joe plus Canmore property equals more time with the kids, and that's the formula we're trying to solve, can we sub that out with an alternative? Like Joe plus RV equals quality time with the kids. It doesn't need to be complex. There may be other things that he can do to simply buy more time with his children. When we work with our clients, instead of solving for the goals based on the dollars and cents right away, we look at other creative options as well. Another benefit that we bring as planners is that we have the benefit of seeing dozens of other people who may be facing similar decisions simultaneously, and they could all be tackling things differently because, again, Input plus interpretation equals output. These clients may have totally different ways of interpreting the goals and the situation that they're in. So we bring that back to the table. The thing is, you will retire once, and I'll get to oversee hundreds of these over my career. Multiply that by the stories and case studies that I hear and learn from peers and mentors. We get to put more input into a plan than just facts and figures. Now, I really like that presentation, and I will probably work with the school board to do more of it. I enjoyed it, and I think it could be impactful. I hope that I was able to translate some of those lessons that was designed for them to help you as you plan for retirement.